Hi there, my name's Wayne Ferdine, author of Sales Leadership, Distinctions with a Difference. Thank you for downloading my business-to-business lead generation tool. Now perhaps you've taken the time to read through the few notes I have on there about how to build a list, but this video is really just there to help reinforce some of the things I speak about in the tool and perhaps give you some perspectives that are easier to share with you in a kind of one-on-one basis. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free. Send me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Business prospecting can be difficult. There's no easy way to say it. There's no easy way to do it. But there is a broad spectrum of business, and it really depends on what type of business prospecting you're trying to do. And I'm talking about when you work for a company and you're trying to sell to another company. Unlike direct sales, which is often targeted to individuals, in a business-to-business world, you're selling to a company. Now, that could be a one-person company, but it's still a company decision and not as much an individual decision. So there are different techniques. You know, I talk about this in the direct sales lead generation tool. Selling is really only about two things: finding someone to talk to and then talking to them. And if you don't have anybody to talk to as a salesperson, that's a very difficult situation. It's actually called death of a salesperson. So I want you to use this tool, but I want you to go into this with the perspective of this lead list is a living, breathing document. It's not something I'm going to do today and then set aside. This is something that from a business to business perspective, you should literally be doing every day or every week. I know because that's what I do in my professional sales career today. I don't just get given a series of target accounts. Yes, I have some of those, but I have to prospect to find new accounts, what we call new logos, because we have a whole series of product and services. And once I land a new customer, my objective then is to expand the business I have with them. I'm very much into relationship-based selling, not transactional-based selling. So it's, for me, very important to cultivate that company as a customer. And if you don't have those contacts, again, it can be a real challenge. So here's some tips for you. Number one, I recommend that you look very closely at where you've had success, you or your company, in which market verticals. Maybe you've had a lot of success selling to IT professionals in high-tech companies. Maybe you've had a lot of success selling to procurement people in retail organizations. Doesn't matter what it is. If you've got a vertical market where you or your company have had success, leverage that because you already understand that industry. One of the things that's absolutely critical when you go in to talk to people in a business environment is you must make sure that the time that they give you is of value to them. You do not want an interview or appointment to end with them saying as you walk out the door, that was a wasted 45 minutes of my life, I'll never get back. You won't get back in the door. You need to add value at every step of the process. So you need to start by doing research. You need to understand what that company does and what their business objectives are. You need to understand that in as much detail as possible. When you start to make a list, that becomes very critical. You need to figure out who it is you're going to talk to in the organization. Do you target the department heads? Do you target procurement? Do you target IT? Do you target operations? Who is it that you typically have the most success in selling your product or services to? You may not even know who they are. So how do you find them? Do you cold call the switchboard and say, hey, can I talk to your operations manager? Okay, that works sometimes. Today, a lot of switchboards are automated, and if you don't know their name and they use names to figure it out, you're in trouble. So I recommend that you use social media extensively. And in particular these days, I recommend you use LinkedIn. Now, if you're going to do that, you must also be on LinkedIn and your profile must be very strong. One of the things I've learned in the last number of years when it comes to the power of the online space, I've actually been on the phone with customers and they're doing one of two things when I'm talking to them. They're looking up my company website or they're looking up my personal profile online. And they'll make a decision as they're scanning that, whether they're actually going to continue the conversation with me or whether they're going to give me an appointment. So if your company website is not strong and if your personal presence online is not strong, you need to correct that, because you can gain a lot of information off of sites like LinkedIn and even Facebook. A lot of businesses do a lot of social media advertising and posting on Facebook, on Twitter, on a lot of these sites. Now that you've got a strong social media presence, you need to dig in on those sites to figure out who the best person is that you can approach. If you have the resources, you can enhance things like LinkedIn by getting Sales Navigator. It's an extra paid service, but it allows you to do a lot more. The real key here is identify your target companies, then go into those companies and try and figure out who it is you want to talk to. Try and learn as much about that individual and that company as you can before you make your first approach. So putting together a list of names when it comes to business lead generation is much more challenging than putting together a list of names for if you're a financial services advisor or life insurance agent, you want to just go out and start talking to people about life insurance or mutual funds. But you have to do it. And so I recommend you take the time. Difficult in the first crack to come up with a very long list because of all the research that you have to do. So what I truly recommend is do this literally for an hour every day, or set aside a couple hours a week when you don't take phone calls, you don't browse emails, you don't do anything else. You focus on your prospecting activities. The reality is you're trying to get to the right person, make a great first approach, get that first appointment, whether it's face-to-face or over the phone, and hopefully start to develop some business that can lead to a long-term relationship that pays you over and over and over again. That's really the power of business-to-business prospecting. And it's not easy. However, how many of those do you need? I mean, if it takes you 10 or 15 approaches to get one new customer, but that new customer can help you meet 10, 20, or 30% of your monthly or annual target, it can be an incredibly valuable experience. So focus when you're doing your lead generation in a business environment to working on identifying who is the right prospect. Then you can sit down with your manager, your boss, your supervisor, whoever it is that you work with to figure out what the best approach might be. Maybe you already have that, that's okay, but don't get too far ahead of yourself. The name of the game here is having a good, strong list of names. So when you have some downtime, you can say, hey, I can make 3 prospecting calls or write 3 prospecting emails or whatever it is you are going to do with those contacts to go out and create business. And again, if you have any questions, if you want to bounce some ideas off me, by all means, send me a note and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And the last thing is I'm going to be developing some online sales training. So this will go into the real meat and potatoes of finding someone to talk to and then talking to them. And I'll be looking for a beta test group to run my first course with. It'll be offered at a significant discount in return for you giving me great feedback and suggestions on how to improve it. If that's something that might be of interest to you, send me a note, let me know, and I'll make sure you're on the list when I start promoting that in the near future. Anyway, thank you for taking the time again to look at my site and download the tool, and I wish you absolutely the best of success. Have a great day.